I am convinced that this individual is familiar with the area, and I can't recall in recent times a pursuit of this duration that has persisted on surface streets for as long as this one has. Typically, you see a pursuit that lasts upwards of an hour, perhaps longer, and this one is coming up on an hour now, about 50 minutes and counting. Typically, when they're that long, it's on the freeway, and a wide open freeway, as we were mentioning earlier, what would be considered largely a rolling standoff, where nothing is really going to happen on a freeway at speeds of 70, 80 miles an hour so long as the pursuit suspect wants to keep driving. But the options change and the game changes when the pursuit hits surface streets, as it has now for the past 20, 25 minutes or so in this Silver Lake neighborhood. Very narrow streets, which makes it dangerous. Obviously, you have foot traffic, you have rush hour traffic, so many different obstacles to consider. If you're the pursuing agency, that would be the CHP at this point. And that officer that is right behind the suspect here is managing his emotions as well. He's going to have desires. He's going to have certain gut reactions that he thinks are the right ones to make, but he's only doing what he's commanded to do. He said at some point, yeah, we're allowed to do the pit. At other points, they don't allow it. They don't want him to do it in certain areas. So the officer that you see there is largely under command from the commanding officer of this pursuit. Again, this is the CHP going after an individual in a white Subaru pickup with a camper shell on back. Initially, the problem was unsafe lane change on the 170 freeway in the North Hollywood area. The individual failed to pull over, and the pursuit began. That was coming up on 1 hour ago. The 170 freeway north and southbound, the 5 freeway south through Burbank and Glendale to the south 2, which brings us to the Silver Lake area. And this pursuit suspect just doesn't want to leave this neighborhood. He's been driving in concentric circles for upwards of 25 minutes now, half of this nearly hour-long pursuit in this one neighborhood. And you just don't see it that often on surface streets, a pursuit that lasts this long. But CHP to this point has been reluctant to do a pit maneuver. Tim Lynn aboard Sky 5 can hear the radio chatter and heard discussion among CHP, the commanding officer and the lead driver in the black and white, discussing the potential, the opportunity, the possibility for a pit maneuver. It has not come to fruition. Too many parked cars, too many obstacles. Speed isn't one of them. This individual driving at fairly low rates of speed as pursuits go. Here comes the pit. He's coming up on his rear, and that's when you know they're about to try it. Hasn't done it yet. Now the speed picks up, Tim.
Yeah, he was, just as you were saying there, I saw the officer make the move, and then I recognized what he was going to do. Then the car sped up just a little bit, made a little bit of a turn. The officer peeled back. Yeah, that officer right behind him has all the responsibility now of what to do and when to do it. He's been given clearance by his commanding officers to do the pit. Now he's going to follow his training, the training that he's taken at the academy, and then the follow-up advanced officer training in the pit maneuver. They train all the time on this because it's a very delicate type of maneuver. And like you were mentioning before, there are things they teach you to do in this situation. Your adrenaline is flying. I mean, it is really, really going at this point because you're chasing this guy around and trying to stick with him and stay with him and not hit anybody, not have anybody hit you. You're thinking about what's going to happen when this thing stops. Your adrenaline starts pumping, and then they teach you to start breathing and just breathe very slowly. Try to keep your voice as calm as it can be on the air, and this officer has been very calm on the air. And what that does is helps to take care of your emotions, to keep that adrenaline under check, because I can tell you right now inside of that officer, he's going about 1,000 miles an hour, even though his pursuit is only at about 40 miles an hour. It is quite something to do. It doesn't look like it's that big of a deal from up here in Sky 5, but I can tell you from being in a patrol car in a pursuit, it is something else to have to deal with because you don't know what you're up against. Is this guy going to bail out and start shooting at you, or is he just some guy that put the wrong license plate on a car? You don't know. Now he's making this big bend to the left. This is going to bring him back down towards the 5 freeway. And Fletcher is the street that he's on coming through traffic as he works his way south. A lot of traffic right there, weaves his way through. Luckily, he's going slow. This is Fletcher, which is just on the north side or the west side of the 5 freeway. And we'll see what he's going to do as he comes down through this intersection. But cruising right along. But yeah, the CHP officer, he's going to make the move. I bet you as soon as he tries to hit an on-ramp here, that CHP officer is going to take him out as he goes underneath the 5 freeway. Going to pop out here. There you go. See, he's going to make the turn around. There's the on-ramp. Now he's going to, CHP officer should jump on the gas and try to get him before he gets on the freeway. There it is. Come on. Come right up on him on his bumper. You should take him now. Come on. Here he goes. Very high speed spin. Rolls him around into the trees. Now the jam officers will come in and jam that car. Perfect. A absolutely perfect pit done by this CHP officer. You see the jam cars coming up. They're now taking control. The officer that pitted him should have driven on and held him. See, he's backed him right into that tree, and now he's got nowhere to go. These officers have him at gunpoint, and now the worst thing he can do is try to drive away, because then that's when the officers are going to have to make the decision on deadly force or not. But this will probably come to an end very shortly here with these officers. They shouldn't rush this right now. They're going to have to sit here and just watch and keep an eye on this, and to get him to get out of that car. So very, very, very tense situation right now. This is the most dangerous part of a pursuit, is when it comes to an end like this. But this was the on-ramp to the northbound 5 freeway from Fletcher. And now it's a standoff. Officer standing there with his guns out. He had one officer on the front of the car, should be back a little bit. I would want him to be back and get into a position to where he can take cover should this guy come out, because he's fully exposed at this point. And now they're going to have to take their time. They have no reason to rush this. It looks like the car has been disabled and it's backed into that tree. It can't get out. If he does come forward, the officer could jam him in with the police car very, very easily. But yeah, we're going to have to just keep kind of a wide shot in this. We really don't want to see anything happen bad here. But I kind of see his arms out the window, shaking his arms out the window. What they're telling him to do right now is to drop the keys out. Oh, the guy just climbs out the window and lays flat. Excellent, excellent. So now they're going to come up. Rest officer will come in, handcuff him, take him into custody. The other officer will check the interior of the car, make sure there's nobody in there. And he should go around and check the back, make sure there's nobody in that back section. There he goes. And looks like this is coming to a very peaceful end, a very excellent pit maneuver by the CHP officer here. Took him out, spun him around just like they map it out, just like you practice. And now we got a guy in custody. Nobody hurt, no officers hurt. And the suspect will be going to jail for a few nights here as they pick him up and put him in. So off he goes, and then we'll be done with this. So long plane pursuit here through the Silver Lake area. Really, really something else comes to an end. You see the suspect right there being held by the officer. So right now he's in custody of CHP. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to run him off to. Micah?
What a wild finish to a pursuit that lasted the better part of an hour through the San Fernando Valley, all because the individual was making unsafe lane changes and failed to pull over. And what really heightened the alert here for CHP, the license plate did not match the registration on that truck that they were pursuing. But the suspect is in custody, and it was perfectly executed, that pit maneuver on the on-ramp to the 5 freeway. And all is well that ends well. This individual will have a lot of thinking to do as he spends the next evening, perhaps several evenings, in jail.